Well, good afternoon. Today we gather in another example of life being different under global pandemic restrictions. We're here to celebrate a significant career in the fire service, and we appreciate everyone being here. We appreciate everyone that's watching on the Zoom. Of anyone in this fire service, Chief Wilson deserves a packed room with folks to give handshakes and hugs. And so we're glad we're able to do this, and at least to acknowledge this at this time. It's also a little unusual in these events to where Gary Wilson's not at the podium. He has typically been our MC for these events, many years of recognition for service to the organization. So I'm humbled to do that part for him at this time for his celebration. So in classic Chief Wilson's fashion, he was one that always reminded us the importance of us to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. So would all of you please be careful in those rolling chairs. Please stand and we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Again, we're very excited to have the Wilson family here to join us in this celebration. It's been surreal to see the small cardboard boxes all week long making its way to the car, which means this is real. We have talked about this, and the fact that today is the day is a significant milestone for this organization, as we're celebrating the longest 10-year training chief at one of the most powerful training operations in the Midwest. I think we can say that with confidence, and not only from our personnel standpoint, the facility, what we're able to produce out of here. So this is not something that we take lightly as we gather to acknowledge this milestone. First up on the agenda, we do have, representing the training division, Training Officer Jay Hall is going to come up and say some words. So, Jay.
Thanks, Chief. Chief Wilson, I remember the day that I got to the training division. I sat in your office and you offered me a piece of advice, and I haven't forgotten it to this day. It was be creative and don't be afraid to screw up. Well, I've embraced that, and it's helped me in the training aspect as well as the educational aspect, and for that I'm grateful. I'm sure there are many others that share similar stories and words of advice that you've shared with me. Your investment into the training division and the development of the training officers it's unprecedented. Okay, I truly appreciate, on behalf of the entire training division, all that you have invested into us as training officers, as well as each individual on this department. From all of us at the training division, happy retirement. You deserve it, and hope to see you on the golf course for some golf lessons someday. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Jay. And as many of us are familiar with, one of the highlights of these events is the production that Jason Rhodes has put together, highlighting, and some words that Gary can leave us with. And also knowing that the folks who are watching this on Facebook that may not be familiar, enjoy what you're about to see. Take two. We're warming. We timed out. It's warming up, not yet.
right, you ready to do this?
Sure. Hang on, let me make sure my phone's off.
Okay.
I'm Gary Wilson, training chief for Overland Park Fire Department. I've been here almost 14 and a half years. I was going to college, going to be a school teacher in music. And when I was in college, coming out of a class one day, out of the building, there was a busload of crumb crunchers that ran into me and knocked my books and everything all over, and I'm picking all these stuff and these kids are running off, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. I'll kill them. So quit school, went back and helped my mom and dad in the grocery store in Eudora. And my dad asked me to go to the men's or father-son dinner they had every year for Father's Day at church. So I did. And one of the guys that was there, longtime friend of the family, was also the fire chief out at Sunflower Army Ammunition. So he came up and talked to me. What are you doing? I told him. And he said, what do you want to be a fireman? I said, I know nothing about it. And he said, don't worry about it, I'll train you. So the next week they called me out for an interview. The next week after that they called me out for a physical, and July 7th, 77, I started my first day. I don't know who was more excited, my dad or me, because now I was gainfully employed with benefits. He probably was more excited than I was. I wasn't too worried about it. I'd figure out a way to survive. They called it government-owned contractor operated, so Hercules ran it. We had a lot of things to do with the Army, but there were a lot of things that we had to do that a lot of fire departments don't have to do. You know, we did all the extinguisher maintenances and stuff like that for the plant. Sprinkler inspections we did weekly. Went through all the warehouses, inspected fire doors, and did a lot of that. And then we had a full-time prevention person on there. So the guy that had that ended up having to go out and passed away with cancer. So that position was open, and the fire chief at that time was Eldon Loveland. Eldon approached me and said, hey, would you want to do this for a while? And I said, yeah, let me think about it. I said, but I'd like to sometime make sure that I could get back on shift. I was in prevention for 18 months, and that really was a really good opportunity for me, because Eldon was a great guy, and he'd give you cover, but mainly he'd let you run it, and you just had to keep him before what you wanted to do. And then when he said, when you hit a big hurdle, let me know and I'll intervene. But until then, if you think it's the right thing to do, then go do it. And so, you know, I ran the whole prevention division, and for me, that really gave me confidence that I'd be able to manage projects, but maybe even be able to eventually do what I was doing now. Well, I could tell that the plant wasn't going to last forever. So I was kind of putting my plan B out, went to college, got my associate degree at JUCO, which oddly enough is where I ran into a lot of people from OPFD. Dennis Myers, Keith Murray was going there at the time, Stockman was going. It just so happened KU sent out an announcement looking for full-time training instructors. So I talked to my wife about it. She was we had lived in Lawrence. We were living in Lawrence then. She was working in Lawrence. So we thought, well, having both of us work inside the city probably wouldn't be a bad deal. So I went and interviewed for the job, or sent an application in, and surprisingly they called me for an interview. Did the interview, felt pretty good about it, and about a week later they called me and offered me the job. They hired Al Walker as the director, and he came out of Idaho, and Al started in July. And Al had a whole different philosophy of how he wanted to run a state fire training system, and he'd run a fire training system in Idaho. So he had some experience of what he wanted to do and how it worked. And we really, we almost were like training brokers more than we were instructors, where as a full-time job, it was to work on curriculum, but in my case, finding speakers, and we put together a catalog of courses, kind of like the JCPenney catalog. So if you wanted to bring Alan Brunacini into your department to do one of his courses, you could go through us. We'd subsidize some of the cost of the course, and then I'd handle all the setups and the logistics and stuff like that. So I ended up doing a lot of traveling, a lot more traveling than I ever thought I was going to do. I mean, I was gone a lot, and we were a small outfit, so we really didn't have a lot to pawn that off to. So I did a lot of travel and stuff like that, but that's also where I started meeting a lot of contacts. So the people that tease me that, you know, you can't walk down a convention hall without Wilson knowing somebody in the hallway. It really started with KU, and you know, I'm dealing with Brunacini. I'm calling him and picking him up at the airport, or having dinner with Frank Brannigan and his wife, and all the other people that, you know, were kind of legends in the business at that time. So started building my network through that. I was on my way to a KU basketball game, believe it or not, and I was getting ready to walk out the door, and Steph said, "Gary, a guy named Phil Sayre wants to talk to you real quick." Okay, so I talked to Phil, and Phil said, "Hey, I hear that they're going to have the announcement for, or the opening for the Missouri Associate Director job. You need to apply for it." And I laughed, and I said, "Phil, I know what he makes. I'm not taking a pay cut to go to Missouri." And I said, "I got to run off. I got to leave." And he goes, "That's fine." He said, "I'll talk to you later." And about 6 to 8 weeks later, I imagine it was, he said, "So they're going to announce the job coming out this week. Here's the starting salary. You got any other excuses?" That's how he put it. "You got any other excuses?" So I interviewed and got the job. So I started MU in December of 1996. And I'll never forget when I was doing the interview, they had me interview with the staff. And they asked me a bunch of questions and stuff, a bunch of snowball type questions and things like that. And I thought, God, you guys are surely a little stronger and more in depth than this. So I just asked them, I said, "So what do you expect out of the associate director?" And they didn't say a word. And then finally, one of the gals that worked there, Gail Hagans, who's still there today, and I'd known Gail, she just looked at me and she goes, "Gary, we just need somebody here that can make an effing decision." And that's what she said. And I looked and I said, "Yeah, I can do that." We had a lot better support at MU and stuff like that, bigger fire service. More and more getting around the state, we just grew a lot of things. 9/11 hit, and 9/11 just, you know, for all of us, it just turned the world upside down for us, but in training, it really turned the world upside down because the federal government started their mission creep with all kinds of money and grants, and they were throwing money out. They had no idea what they were doing. We had good contacts with Senator Bond, and he was at that time in charge of the Appropriations Committee for FEMA. And so we made some inroads with Bond, and mainly I made some inroads with his staff there in the Columbia office. Boy, those 4 or 5 years probably, from 2002 to when I left at 6, were just absolutely bonzo crazy. I mean, we worked hard and we played hard, but it was fun. We did a lot of training, broke a lot of training records and stuff like that, things they'll never ever do again, but I mean, there was so much money out there, it was unbelievable. I get a call from Mike Casey, and Mike said, "Gary, we got an opening for the training chief's job." And I'm like, "Mike, holy crap! Didn't you just replace that position a year or two ago?" Yeah. We've had a few. I said, "Well, who in the hell is the training chief now? Is Morrison the training?" "Oh no, he left a long time ago. It's Jeff DeGraffenried." "So DeGraffenried's left?" "Yeah." "Oh my gosh." I said, "Mike, thank you, but I'm not interested." And he's like, "Well, I talked to you years ago and you thought you might be." I said, "Yeah, but a lot of things have changed." So we left it on good basis and stuff like that. Next day, Hank DuPont calls me. And he's like, "For the love of God, son, you don't want to come back to Overland Park? Good God, we need somebody that can stay here for a while." And I said, "I don't know, Hank." I said, "There's a lot of interesting things here. I don't know that I would fit in well there." And so we left it like that as well. And then Mike called me back and he goes, "All right, just do me a favor. Will you come and have lunch with Chief Diener and myself? Just so we can talk about the job a little bit. And I said, all right, Mike, since you're a friend, I will do that. So I traveled back here, had lunch with Mike and Chief Diener. Kind of took it around. Mike drove me around and some of the things like that. And then I told my wife what I'd done. And she had said, so you mean there's a chance we might be able to go home? Didn't catch that one. And so I said, well, yeah, I guess that you could say that. And so I left. I had to do my interview here in the morning, so I left and spent the night with my brother in DeSoto. And before I left, walking out the door, my wife said, now you will get that job. And I said, Steph, this is a competitive process. And she said, Gary, you've got that job, but only you can destroy getting that job. You could sabotage the job. Now, only my wife would think that her husband would actually sabotage a job so he could stay or do what he's wanting to do. She knew me really well. I always, in the back of my mind, thought, I want to learn everything that I did in state fire training, and I'd like to get into a municipal fire department and just find out if that stuff would work in a training division in a municipal fire department. And it has. I already knew what was going to happen here. Buck didn't know, Mary didn't know, nobody else had a clue. But I already knew it was going to happen because once I saw some of the things that was going on and then how people would make comments to me, I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to work. This is going to work. It's going to be easier than I thought. Probably for the last 5 years, I've gone around some parts of the country and stuff like that, and I do like a half or a one-day workshop on the business of training. And it really is how we operate our training division here at Overland Park. And so in another week or so, I'm going to Missouri to do their Fire Service Leadership Enhancement Program. And I'll do a section, half a day on professional development. So guess what the whole part of the professional development is? It's our 5-year career plan and then what we do for professional development here. Given what's happened to me over the last 5 or 6 years now, it is really good that I landed here. Great doctors, close to the family, and then the biggest thing is, I used to always tell my wife about the brotherhood in the fire service. She found out what the brotherhood really was when the BA was bringing food over and guys are mowing my yard and guys are shoveling our driveway and stuff like that. And they're like, if you can't get to chemo treatments, I'll drive you and doing that. And they're even now, there's guys out hitting my driveway. My family in total and my neighbors, that's been the coolest thing. My neighbor's reaction to how those guys do that. And she goes, man, that's amazing that people from work will do that. And I've just said, well, that's kind of that's the brotherhood, the connection that we all have being in the fire service. And they saw it, and they're impressed as hell with the Overland Park Fire Department on doing that, but my family has too, and that's been the biggest plus. I hope what I've done has made a difference somewhere, whether it's for a department or an individual, and being a part of the ISTA manuals and the distribution that manual has. And in most states, that's the instructor officer manual, and I was on both of those committees. So hopefully there's been people that have benefited from that. I had 2 goals when I really got here, besides will all this stuff work for a fire department. The first one was I wanted to make sure that the training division, particularly the training chief's division, had some stability. And then when I walk out in a couple more weeks, people will sit back and if they say, training division now is a little bit better than it was when he got here in '06, that's good enough. If I just made a little bit of improvement, they feel it's a little bit better than what it was, and that's enough. And I don't need to hear it, but if in their minds they believe that's it, that's good enough for me. I'll tell you, 43 and a half years have gone by fast, believe it or not. People say that, but when I think back, it went by pretty fast. And it's not the years as much as for me it's been the miles in doing that. Young kids today have such a great advantage over where I was at when I joined 77. We didn't have instructor programs. We didn't have officer development programs. We really didn't have formalized fire academies like they have now. None of that stuff was available to us. So the ability for them to build up their skills and gain knowledge, they blow us away. These lieutenant interviews for the next several years are going to be very, very, very competitive because we have some really good young people coming in the doors. So, have a vision, realize where you're at. Just don't look at this as, I'm a firefighter right now. You want to be a captain, or talk to your BC what they had to go through and look at what it's going to be like to be a BC and have some vision. Start putting a plan together that just takes you more than a year out and to do that. For me, I think I'm walking away with it feeling good because I got to see a lot of stuff that most firefighters just don't get to see. I had the opportunities to meet a lot of people. I had a lot of experiences, getting asked to go to London back in 2005 with a constituent group out of the emergency management program at Oklahoma State, getting to be at the British Fire Service College, getting to go see the Scottish Fire Service College, and getting the first presentation done by the London Fire Brigade after they had the terrorist attack in their subway system. And then traveling around the country and seeing how a lot of fire departments operate, both volunteer and career, it's been invaluable. And if you would have told some kid 43 and a half years ago that, when you decide to check it in, you'll have all of these experiences and things that you had, I'd say you're smoking crack. Would have never seen that coming. So for me, it's there, but in my mind now, I'm good with it. Just before my brother died, he told me, he said, you're going to have to take your sister and your sister-in-law to the casino. I'm not going to be around to do it. And that was kind of their thing. They'd take a day a week, and they'd go to one of the casinos and they'd eat. And so I said, well, yeah, I'll do that. Well, then COVID's hit, and of course I was still working and taking that off. So hopefully that clears up, and I still stay real close to my sister and my sister-in-law. So I'll do that. Steph and I want to do some things ourselves and stuff like that. And then there's this 9-year-old daughter, or granddaughter, that probably needs to be spoiled just a little bit more than what she's already been spoiled. That I think her grandma and grandpa's going to take care of that. I don't want a job, not wanting additional income and stuff like that, but things to stay busy. I can't play golf every day. Particularly with Hank and Sweeney. They get in my head too bad. I just can't take the pressure. But, there's other things I want to do. Our church offers a lot of opportunities for volunteer, food pantry or whatever. They got a million different opportunities, so there's enough for me to stay busy and be doing something that's worthwhile, helping people out. I'm 43 and a half years. I got a lot of to talk about. Some of them I can't say. Yeah, I can't.
I'm short, so this is about as tall as I get. You're used to Diener bumping his head on the lights up there. I can start whenever I want to. Okay.
Well, thank you, Jason. Another great video that will be shown here at the Training Center for years to come. Stephanie, thank you for your involvement in making him spend his last professional chapter here with the organization. I remember that time, and you know, so in 2006, this training center was just barely a decade out of its infancy, right? We did a lot of stuff, but I think it is fair to say that we chased a lot of shiny things. We were in the landing, we were doing ESPN commercials, which were great, contract training with the military. We were looking to do anything and everything. And what I think we lost track of and what we were yearning for was someone who had the true experience, the grounded experience of focus on our primary missions, and whether we call that our meat and potatoes training through the Corps, whether it's our officer development, whether it's our specialty rescue, you know, the ability for Gary to leverage his relationships. You know, John Mittendorf is in here teaching us ventilation. You know, we're focusing from lessons from Brannigan and Fire Command from Brunacini. All of those things that were able to be brought here to Overland Park, Kansas. So all the folks that are working in stations, influencing folks as company officers, making the transition, you know, to the battalion chief, and also being our person that can encourage people and challenge people. I think it's clear for those watching to see he doesn't pull many punches in the room when he's having conversations with people. So when folks are sitting in front of him asking his opinion on where should I invest my education, money, and time to be better for the organization, he would give the honest truth. He would say, don't take the easy way. And making sure we don't go to the boutiques that are degree mills. You're focusing on individuals that are taking and getting something meaningful that can help at that next level. Had really kind of helped the organization that, quite honestly, our cupboard was bare as to some of that. And I would say, as we have our promotional processes for battalion chiefs now, our promotional processes for lieutenants and captains, you know, education is not absent on their resumes. I mean, that is something we're very proud of, that what you've helped instill and show that it mattered. It wasn't just a check mark on a sequential steps for promotion policy. It was truly seeing how that was used and made us a better organization in addition to the training that we provide here. So pretty powerful stuff. I mean, stuff that will set us on legacy type of things moving forward. The next training chief of this organization is going to inherit an organization that has the culture, that expects to get better, that wants to, is motivated to get better, that is supported by the leadership. Your primary customers, the operations division, they see the value that this training center brings to the table, and we will challenge every other company or every other training chief that sits in that seat to keep building on what Gary has provided. So as the fire chief, Gary, I'm glad we met at Houlihan's that day, and you accepted this opportunity because we really needed you at this time, and it's paid off greatly for us. So with that, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the family that shared him with us during this time. We look forward to hearing good news, you know, golf scores, and joining us here at this training facility for celebrations when we can get back to the business of celebrating and seeing each other and those types of things. We want to see you in your uniform joining us to stand with us in those celebrations. So again, Gary, we just want to say thank you. And so if I can ask the deputies to join me, we want to ask you to come up. We'll present you with our service box. And then I know Shayna will be coming up to hand over the gift from the department. So. And I'll stand at the So the folks can hear us. We rounded up for 15 years of service. Gary Wilson, Training Chief. Again, this box is a memento of this career, and all these items and achievements and medals and ribbons and badges that you have. You have a keepsake box for you to keep that, and with all the things you've achieved, you'll have a hard time shutting this with all the stuff that you'll put in it. But congratulations, and thank you very much for your service.
I always wondered what was in those.
And now with Shana, if you'd like to come up. She was the project manager of finding a fitting gift for the training chief.
This is Angela helps too. I can't do
Okay,
golf,
and
but-
Angela.
And Sue. So all of these golf balls that have been sitting on your desk or in that
From
shelf
Paul Bischoff.
from Paul Bischoff, you get to take them home with
I'm
you.
gonna be upset.
So this is from all of us here at the training center. Enjoy some golf on us and maybe go out to dinner. So
Very good.
that's for you. I'll just set it here.
All right.
There you go.
Very good. Thank you.
And Gary, if you'd like to say a few words, the floor is yours.
That's a silly one. Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Wow. If Chief Messinger is out there watching this, all I can say is damn you right now. He's called me for the last couple of weeks and he goes, well, has it set in yet? Mark, I'm fine. And I just found out, man, maybe I'm not all that fine right now. It's coming to fruition. So I want to try to span a whole lot of things in a short amount of time because you just don't, any of us that are in this room or everybody's watching, there are always people in your career that really made a difference and helped you get to where you're getting. And I had some people there, and I want to recognize them. Most of these names people won't recognize and stuff, but I had mentioned earlier in the video Eldon Lovelet, who's the fire chief out at Sunflower that helped in that aspect and really kind of got me started. And I think I'd also mentioned Al Walker, and Al had that different philosophy. And really, from my perspective from there all the way to what we do here at OP, a lot of those base things and philosophies and stuff I got those from Al. Other thing great about Al, we used to do an instructor conference while we were at KU, and so we would put our house up to host about 75 to 100 people, and Al and I would fix dinner. Each year it was a different theme, so one year would be Mexican, one year it was German. But the highlight of that, and where Al was so important in all of that, not only was he a good chef, he was a pretty damn good beer maker. And so we all had homemade brews, no domestic stuff allowed. It was all homemade stuff that Al did. The other person, when Al left and I became the director at KU, was John Wolf. He was the assistant dean to continuing education. And John probably was the smartest person I think I've ever been around or worked with. John's experience was just unbelievable. Intellectually, he just knew a lot of stuff, and he was a philosopher through his degree and stuff like that. And John used to always tell me, a good philosopher can do a lot of things. A great philosopher can do anything. And then he would wrap it up, and you know what kind of philosopher I am. But the one thing I got from John in all of that, we would have, every other week we would probably go and have our meeting. So it'd be our own personal staff meeting. And there was a restaurant in Lawrence called Taco Grande. People that live in Lawrence may have known of that. Some people called it a greasy spoon, but turned out it was my favorite Mexican restaurant. It was John's too. And we would talk a little shop about the day-to-day things and that's going on in the program. But the rest of that then was really John just relaying out experiences and a lot of information that I eventually took. Had nothing to do with the fire service. But the other thing that was so impressive about John wasn't a firefighter. He knew nothing about the fire service, and yet NFPA asked him to be on the chair of the 1000 committee, which set the guidelines for how a training program should be organized and set up. IFSAC asked him to be the parliamentarian for that. And so outside agencies that got to know John and his abilities and stuff like that brought in a non-fire person to be able to do it. But the one thing John left with me, and I've kept it ever since I've heard it. One of the things about a realist philosopher is when you make a decision because you think it's the right thing to do. A lot of people make a decision because they think they're going to make somebody happy, or they're looking to make sure that these people stay happy and whatever. And what you do, everybody knows this, it's no secret, you never can make anybody happy. You're going to make one group happy, the other group's not going to be happy. And the thing I learned early on, particularly through State Fire training, is no matter how hard you try, you're not going to make them happy. 40% of the people are going to love you no matter what you do. 40% of the people are going to hate you no matter what you do. So you really only have about 20% you try to influence to give you support. But I used that every decision I made, I thought it was the right thing to do, and I didn't do it for political reasons or other types of vendettas or personal things like that. I just felt they were right. And as I was expecting, as John said it would happen, a lot of people got pissed off at some of the decisions I made, but I lived with them because I felt at the time they were the right things to do. I left KU and I went to MU, as I said in the video, and my boss there was Bruce Perringer. And Bruce was a visionary guy. He had a knack of predicting what was going to happen in the fire service. I couldn't believe how he could see some of the things coming up where the fire service was going to have to turn and get involved and do some of the other things that were there. And so Bruce and I would have walks in the park. This sounds crazy, but our offices was right across the street from Peace Park. Chief Diener probably knows where that's at MU. And Bruce was also a pipe smoker, so this gave him an excuse to get out of the building, smoke a couple bowls of tobacco, and we discussed things, and Bruce would start throwing ideas out and things like that. Well, after about the first couple of walks, I realized every time we had one of those walks, there was more work for me coming up, because as we would end, Bruce would say, "So, lad," and when he said lad, you were either in trouble or he was about ready to give you an order. He said, "So, lad, get after it." And that meant, all right, this is what we're going to do. But Bruce had tremendous contacts everywhere I went. They found out if I was from the University of Missouri. How's Bruce? How's Bruce? So people that think I had a lot of connections, I didn't even get off the porch compared to the connections and stuff that Bruce had. And that, obviously, I ended up making a lot more connections through that process. But he was truly a visionary guy, and I learned a lot from him. Particularly learned a lot of the history of why some of the decisions are there. You know, most people don't know why the 2-week schedule to National Fire Academy is the way it is. But there was a rationale for how that happened. So all of those things are important, and I've had the mentors that were in there and played a role. So that helped me on the professional side, but the other side of that is all of that wouldn't have mattered at all unless I knew I had stability in my personal life. So in August of 1977, I started to date a girl named Stephanie Alberg. And I eventually married her. And with the exception of 1 month, Steph has been ingrained into the fire service. She's had about every joke that a firefighter could pull on a spouse. She caught on real fast. Guys out at Sunflower would call and say, she would call out there at night, "Can I talk to Gary? Sorry, Gary's not here. He's out with his girlfriend tonight. He took the day off." Well, Steph knew it was BS, but they pulled everyone, but she was there. And then when I got in state training, obviously I was gone a lot, and I mean a lot. It wasn't like working the 24-hour shift. It was 3-4 nights at a time. And we had 3 kids. And so with that, she had to raise the kids. She had to get them to school. She had to take care of the house. We didn't always have all this automatic PayPal and stuff, so she had to take care of paying the bills. If something broke while I was gone, she would make a quick call, but then she was responsible for keeping everything afloat. Had I not had that stability at home, I couldn't have done what I did. This would have never happened. She sacrificed a lot of her career to support me. She's been my biggest supporter. When I got sick, she was definitely my best caretaker. She was not afraid to get in the nurse's face and, you're not taking care of my husband well enough. So she was there. So without Youssef, I'd have never made it. From that, we had 3 kids. Unfortunately, one of those passed away. One had Down syndrome. So actually, it'll be 23 years tomorrow that Jeff passed away. But I'm glad that my other 2 kids are with me today. My son, Justin, and my daughter, Sarah. Both of them kind of take after their dad in certain ways. That's not always a good thing, but it is what it is. They're related, as they say, they're related. And then there's a little girl over there named Adriana, and so that's the granddaughter. And so very fortunate to have my family and the things we've gotten to do together, and moving forward now, being home. Justin and Sarah suffered a lot. I missed a lot of functions and stuff like that, just like you guys know what it's like on a 24-hour shift, or I was out of town at a conference or whatever it had to do. So they had to play a role in that too. Dad wasn't always around to be able to attend concerts or other types of events and stuff they were in. So that's it as far as the personal thing. And so last week, Chief Sweeney took me to lunch, and he asked me this question: what is the most significant accomplishment in your 43 and a half years? And I really had never thought about that. And I really didn't know what to tell Sweeney, and so I gave him a real flippant answer of, well, I didn't get fired in any of the jobs that I had. And so I consider that was an accomplishment. So this week I've really had a chance to think about, really what do I think were some significant accomplishments. So when I was at MU, fire chiefs came up to us and said, we have no officer programs for our people. There's no prep. Missouri did not have an Officer 1 program at the time. So we put together a non-credit certificate officer development program. And from that, we would give them a certificate that they had that, and eventually a lot of departments started adopting that as their promotional process in Missouri. That ended up leading us to go ahead and get through the American Council on Education. And so we were able to offer ACE credit recommendations for all of those courses that we were doing. And then from that, MU allowed us to reach out to Columbia College, and I worked with the faculty at Columbia College, and we put together an associate in fire administration degree. And a lot of the courses that we offered were the fire curriculum that they had in there, and then you could do all their gen ed things through Columbia College. So that was a pretty significant thing, I think, that was there. And then when I came here to Overland Park, I might be wrong on this, but I think really what we've ended up doing with the career development plan, I've had several recruits over the years come up and tell me, Chief, you don't know how, this is a breath of fresh air. The department I was at before, once you got out of the academy, you were just loosey-goosey, whatever the heck it was. And I think the structure, so now we know, where people are at in the ladder. We got people prepared, as Chief Diener mentioned earlier, with promotions and stuff coming up. This at least gives us an idea where people are at in the schedule. And I think probably out of all the things, that's probably the most important. And then some of the other contributions were some of the people that have turned out and furthered themselves, and I'm obviously pretty proud of them. One was Kevin Zumwalt, worked for me at MU. Kevin ran the winter and summer fire schools for a lot of that time. And through that, I eventually talked to Kevin. I said, Kevin, there's a little bit more about the Institute than just summer winter fire schools, and need to start looking a little bit more and wanting to get a little bit better grasp of the budgeting process and some of the administrative things and the other aspects that are going on. And Kevin did that. He eventually became the director of the Institute. He did a great job while he was the director of the Institute. And so I was very proud of Kevin, how he furthered himself, improved himself, and got to the point where he was able to run the Institute. And then when I got here at OP, we've had some people, unfortunately, had to leave. But Chris Angermuller, John Perry, Mike Morgan, all three of those individuals left to become, first of all, training chiefs, and then Chris and John have actually promoted through the organizations they went to. And Morgan, as everybody knows, the training chief over at Consolidated. And then I can't forget Chief Kusick, who some of you probably don't know, used to be an ALS training officer in the training division, and eventually has moved his way up to our deputy chief. And so hopefully with those individuals, I've had something to help them along the way in their career. And I'm hoping when I leave that someday I'll be hearing news about the other people that are in the training division now, that they've been able to move up and do something as well. And hopefully things that I've had around them, they'll be able to say that I had a small thing to do maybe in their development and stuff like that. So all in all, it's been a great ride. I couldn't ask for really a better career. And finally, I just want to say thank you to Chief Diener for giving me the opportunity to come to Overland Park. I don't know if everybody knows this, but I was called back to get the offer packet and stuff like that and meet Chief Diener, and I was in his office. This was when we were down at 95th Street. And he reached around to his desk and he had the packet of stuff from the city and stuff like that, and he reached out and he goes, "Before I give that to you, I got to ask you one question." And I said, "Let me see. Are you going to get bored within 2 years and fly the coop?" And he kind of looked at me like that, and he goes, "How did you know I was going to ask you that?" I said, 4 training chiefs in 10 years? That'd be the question I'd be asking if I was a fire chief. And I told him then, I said, no, I said, I want to get off the road. I'm tired of doing all that. Traveling's starting to get boring. 9/11 just ruined all the travel and the hassles and stuff. So I took that job and came here. And the training staff at that time, Jerry Brenner, Rich Hinkle, Buck Heath, Mary Bitter, particularly looking at Mary and Buck, I could tell they had war rooms of, oh, here we go again, another training chief coming in. They've had to go through all of this. And early on, I could sense just their attitude, and early on also they were kind of walking on eggshells, what was going to happen. So I really felt right off the bat that it was going to be important for me to calm them down and do whatever I could do to convince them that I'm not leaving. At least on my own accord, I'm not leaving. Let's put it that way. And so they were great to work with. And as we started to bring in, I started changing a few things here and there. They were very well receptive to that. And through the years, I've been fortunate. We've had some great people that's come into the training division, and that stays with where we're at right now. So with Joe, Angela, Jay, Mary, and Tricia, they're a great staff. They've been a lot of fun to be around. I'm going to miss being around them every day. Not enough to withdraw my retirement and do that, but they've just been a lot of fun. Everybody's been a lot of fun to be with, and again, they're very conscious of the training that they want to provide and try to do the best job they can. And I'm appreciative for everything they've done. And then last to the department, as I kind of mentioned in the video and stuff like that, but what this department did for me when I was first diagnosed with cancer was unbelievable. And as I said in the video, those are things that my family and I will never forget. And there are departments that do a lot of different things, but as I told Steph, when this first happened, she said, "So who did this?" I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, who was responsible for doing it?" I said, "Steph, this is all volunteer. These are people that signed up to do this." I said, "The BA made a decision to get a hotel room for us, but people bringing food over, mowing yards, shoveling snow, doing all of that. There was nobody that ordered them to do that. These people did this voluntarily to help out. And I want to give a special reach to Chief Messinger. He's turned out to be a really good friend. We met when I first got here. And Mark was actually the first one that knew I had cancer, confirmed it. He was at the hospital visiting me when I got the call that the biopsy they took was cancerous. So he actually knew before Steph or anybody else did. And Mark quickly, as senior staff, volunteered to be the liaison between the family and the department, kind of took the lead in coordinating and doing all that. And I'm really appreciative of what Mark's done. And ever since then, he's always checked in days when he knows I'm not feeling well or it's come back. He's always been there to check base and do that. And then the last one was to Chief Diener. When I first was diagnosed with cancer, and my first day back, we met just to find out what it was, and he was concerned about, you know, what is the outcome? You know, what do you have a plan? And I explained to him, I think we have a plan. I'll know more this afternoon when I go see the oncologist. And probably the most important thing that he could do, he did. And that's what he told me. He said, the biggest priority you have right now is getting healthy. So whatever you got to do, you do it. Don't ask for permission. You have my permission now to do. And if we need to find somebody to carry the load or whatever, we'll make it happen. But you do what you got to do to get healthy. And having that support in the back and knowing that I can focus on when I can make a doctor's appointment, I didn't have to worry about working it through a schedule or things like that was invaluable. So, Chief, thank you very much for that. And so that's really all I got to say is it's been a great ride. I appreciate everybody here in this department, and I hope you know it is going to be an interesting year for you guys that are here. But I sit around the senior staff table every week. We got a lot of horsepower around that table, and we got good people in the stations. And I know if anybody could do this, Overland Park will be able to handle what's getting ready to happen. I think it's in our DNA to be able to handle those kind of things. So I'm going to wish all of you guys the best. But again, thank you for welcoming me and supporting me all these years. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Gary. For everyone watching, we're going to give you a sneak preview of the tone that will be activated at 5 o'clock this evening. So we have it recorded for you here now.
Members of the Overland Park Fire Department congratulate Training Chief Gary Wilson on his retirement after 14 years of service. Thank you, Chief Wilson. Your approach to education and career development has been a valued contribution to our department, county, and region. Best wishes to you and Stephanie as you start your next adventure. Hit them straight and far. You deserve it.
Thank you very much. This concludes this award ceremony. Thank you.